the occasion this time and make a deal.
My Lords, it's a pleasure to follow the noble Lord Frost and entirely agree with everything that he just said. I think the noble Lord said the Parthenon sculptures sitting in the British Museum are less than a sum of their parts that they would be if they were together in their original context with their original structure. I think that reflects a recent article in the Times that talks about going into the Parthenon Sculptures Gallery and feeling the melancholy of exile. These marbles have been deprived of the charisma that ancient objects can have when they're in the place where they were made and created and lived with for thousands of years. Now, I have to say that I was a volunteer at the British Museum for many years, and I'm a passionate lover of the place. And one of the things that I did as a volunteer was to sit in the galleries, stand in the galleries with ancient objects and give visitors the chance to hold them. And one of the objects I did that with was a 350,000-year-old hand axe from Kent. And that was a magic object when you felt it in your hand, but it was a magic object in its place, in its time. You could feel the connection to the people. They were probably Homo heidelbergensis or possibly early Neanderthals, the people who lived before us on this island, and you were experiencing in that moment. And there is something that we are depriving the world, anyone who visits Athens, of by taking the Parthenon sculptures away. Now, like others, I thank the noble Lord Lexden for the chance for this debate. And like the noble Lady Baroness Chakrabarti, who I think has set out the case very well, which I'm not going to repeat it, I do disagree with the noble Lord Lexden's conclusions, and I think they are very much contested. But I'm, perhaps typically as a Green, going to take this as a chance to think a bit more broadly. This is a chance to reassess the position of many objects in the British Museum. The Benin bronzes are another very obvious example. But actually, let's think about our museums, our galleries, our collections, and Britain's place in the world, and place this in the context of Britain's place in the world. We hear a great deal of talk of Britain wishing to be world-leading, of Britain wishing to stand up for human rights and the rule of law, doing the right thing, a proper international order. Well, let's think about that and think about what we could actually do. And I'm no legal draftsperson, but I'm sure the Table Office could come up with a bill that would see the government directing museums, galleries and other institutions to make, over time, an assessment of their entire collections to see if they have fair and just and rightful title to the objects in those collections. I would ask the government to provide some modest ongoing funding. I'm not saying this is something that would happen a year or even a decade. It could be an ongoing program, and we could already identify some of the objects that would clearly be a problem. And noble lords may say, well, what would that achieve? Well, I pick up the point the noble Lord Allen made about the sculptures here in London send out a message of celebration still of that period of colonialism, of exploitation, of extraction, of straight-out theft. And we'd be saying that's not the kind of world we want to live in. We want to create a new and different future, one that respects the rule of law, one that respects different cultures all around the world, and that seeks to work with them to celebrate together the wonderful creativity of humans all around the world, all kinds of different cultures, and how that's a global tradition that belongs to everyone, that should be all in its rightful place.
My Lords, I'm sure I'm not the